do not understand Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, basically for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives. We're going to be doing a favor to us, to our children, to our economy, to our oil companies. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, basically for three reasons. You're in Fox Business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives. We're going to be doing a favor to us, to our children, to our economy, to our oil companies. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand.
Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, doublers unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, Aki. I'm pushing this word in sincerity and truth. I just say, brother, you're sad with a quick one of flying up to the spirit, you know. Because, hey, the scriptures say that how, hey, the wicked, he is estranged from the womb and he born speaking lies, right? Because hey, we know the target of Venezuela there, which is the Northern Kingdom, the tribe of Asha, right? Which when you go into the word Asha, it means happy, and also they actually saying there's a lot of resources, the black gold, the oil reserves, a lot of profit there. So as the devil always does, comes up with his you know, I'll use the word basically, hey, you come up with a team to execute his plan. Well, let me use they pushing the heavy amount of drugs into America, and hey, we need to go there. We need to stop them, right? But yeah, there's an alternative in this man, because think about it. You can't stop all the drugs, you know, that coming in. I was listening to him recently there, and he say 90% of the drugs, 91% of the drugs by sea has been eased up coming into Babylon, which they are saving 25,000 lives a day, I think, a day or a week or a month or something. So he said, right, of his American people, right? But hey, there's always a motive with this damn devil, right? So I have a next video to play, and I'll get a 2-3 precepts and close it off.
Need to more. Puerto Rico is really close to Venezuela. About 800 kilometers across that sea is the world's largest known crude oil reserve. Is that what this military buildup is all about? No, claims the US. It is targeting what it says are drug boats bringing cocaine and fentanyl across the Caribbean. Washington has been bombing them for months. Yes, says Venezuela. The claim from Caracas, America wants its so-called black gold, and it's pushing regime change. 15,000 troops are here now, the biggest US military deployment to the Caribbean since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
If it's a very quick attack, there might be a blip in the oil prices, and they'll come down. In the if the Americans decide to go for regime change or a longer-term military presence, of course, it'll lead to more uncertainty.
Venezuela had an estimated 303 billion barrels of crude as of 2023. That is more than Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. But it only brought in by President Trump his Kuwait, but it only exported $4 billion worth because it's hampered by sanctions brought in by President Trump his first time around.
They are trying to get sympathy, mostly political sympathy.
The US, by comparison, produces more oil than any other country in history, and it's upping that. Remember this election promise? We will drill, baby, drill. But America can only produce light, sweet crude, good for gasoline, not much else. Venezuela's heavy, sour crude has more purposes. Think asphalt or diesel, and diesel is in tight supply globally because of those sanctions. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, has written to OPEC. That's the group of oil-producing nations. Venezuela was a founding member. He's warning them that the US is trying to steal what's theirs.
Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity.
Maduro saying, we've seen what happens when America tries to take another country's oil. And by that, he is referencing what is still very much a highly emotive subject in the United States. The 2003 invasion of and subsequent war in Iraq.
I think Americans have already decided, whether or not they're going to support Trump in his foreign policy adventures without reference to Iraq. It's kind of baked into how things are going.
Ultimately, the US government says this is not about oil. This is about protecting Americans from a flood of narcotics. Fentanyl, particularly, has claimed a lot of lives. So, could airstrikes, if the order is given to launch them from Puerto Rico? Venezuelans, in fact, much of the world now watching and waiting to see where the White House takes this next. Phil Lavelle, Al Jazeera, say.
So you see, right? But hey, we know, as attempts. They even mention the United States attack on Iraq because of the oil and whatnot, right? Because of the reserves and whatnot. So, there's speculation. Surely we even believe that as well, because this devil. I'm gonna get off first to begin with Habakkuk 2. Because that is their characteristics. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So, we know it have been a long while they have been targeting, across there, but they just haven't put things together until now, right? So as we see what is happening right now, what's taking place, the largest military build-up since the missile fire from in Cuba, right? The missile launch from in Cuba. So, I'll read that back. It says he's a proud man, neither keep it at home. So instead of dealing with the affairs that you're seeing happening across there in Babylon, because right now they're in heavy debt, a lot of the cost of living getting much higher upon the people, a lot of layoffs, a lot of people jobless, the day-to-day American saying that they basically had to work, the average American working, they had to work 2-3 jobs just to maintain themselves, right? And a lot saying it's better to take a vacation to China or to India and go to Babylon. It's much cheaper and much better enjoyment and whatnot. Because of the economics and the statistics, right? thing getting much more harder in Babylon. It say who enlargeth his desire as what? As hell. Because that is their desire to actually conquer them. He set up puppets down there. That they will get to do transaction and deal because they're watching the enrichment in their oil, right? They see a lot of profit, a lot of benefits. And that would give Babylon that breakthrough because didn't Trump say since before coming back as the president as well, he plans to make America great again. And how they did that in the upcoming to extensify from these amount of states to that amount is through war, through exploitation, oppression, and bullying being a hammer, right? And it's what as death, because anywhere you go, you come to the Caribbean and they're blowing up boats suspected of carrying narcotics, right? Destroying boats suspected of carrying narcotics. But think about it, a man would, and I know there's different means of transportation, but who would carry narcotics from the Caribbean straight to Babylon on a pirogue? You would need something much bigger. But hey, who knows? That's what's happening, and cannot be satisfied. So after the breakthrough from Iraq, Afghanistan, all of these things, that wasn't enough. Let we head to the Caribbean and let we make up some sort of, as the devil always does. They love forgery, they love accusations, Let's see. But God write unto him all nations, and heap it unto him all people. Yeah. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and say a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases which is not his, because that is his agenda. He wanna gain access to them the oil reserves and whatnot. And how he's gonna plan to do it? By force. It say how long, and to him that layeth himself with thick clay, and that going into what depth. Let's get in the Blue Letter Bible, because this year, hey, Babylon owing trillions. Habakkuk, because it actually is metaphorical. 2 and 5 into the interliner. It was removed. I'm not sure if it was removed, but no, select right here. Right. The Strong's weight of pledging or heavy debts. Strong something pledged, pawned goods. Yeah. So they're owing, right? They're owing a lot of money in a financial crisis. Yeah. So they see a breakthrough would be to go and spoil these nations and take what is there to enrich themselves. Because again, this man, he's coming with what? Psalm 55 and verses 20. He had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. Because Venezuela they ain't having they having no intent for war, but they will defend themselves. And so it's he putting forth his hands unto them such as had peace with him. He had broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were soft, smoother than butter. Because here it is, they're telling the president of Venezuela to step down, that they would allow him to, they would take the $50 million bounty off his head, and they gonna allow him to live peacefully in an island like Cuba or something. But who could trust this devil? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but what was in his heart? War was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Yeah, so they boxing Venezuela in, right? They creating a trench around her, right, for the taking. So we just had to look and see how it goes out, because the scripture say there's gonna be wars, rumors of war, right? And the Psalms 58, it speaks about this devil, and verses treated the wicked as strange from the womb, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking not lies. So you ought not to trust them. The scriptures say just as iron rusted, so is this man wickedness. Sirach 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. So want to keep, be vigilant amongst them. Their poison is as the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stop with the air. Well, just a video, to the spirit and power Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Hopefully this was edifying. All praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Until the next, I say Shalom.